This is Yuji from Pasta. Today, I want to talk in detail about creating a deep groove in the center of the pectoralis major. Well, as a man, I think everyone wants that deep groove in the middle. To explain that, I'm here again with a microphone taped on with some tape. I'll start by explaining something that might feel a bit off at first. To create a deep groove, the most important factor is the top contraction during the dumbbell press. Today, I will focus solely on explaining how to achieve this top contraction. I won't go into much detail about other aspects. Now, this top contraction, when you contract like this, is what we're aiming for. It's important to create this shape correctly and effectively. The reason this is important is that it starts with performing the top contraction. At this stage of contraction, it is crucial to determine whether a solid groove can be formed. Once this groove is established, the next step is to slowly lower the weight while resisting, which is the negative phase. This process helps to stretch and develop the area further. If the top contraction cannot be achieved, simply performing the negative phase slowly will not be very effective. It will not contribute to creating this groove, so it is essential to focus on achieving that top contraction first. It becomes important to master how to achieve the top contraction. The first key to creating this top contraction is the arch in the back. The back arch, specifically the vertical aspect, is crucial. If you can stabilize this vertical arch, you can effectively press the shoulder joint down. By doing so, the shoulders won't rise up. If the shoulders are elevated in this position, proper contraction of the pectoralis major cannot be achieved. So, why is this the case? The reason you may not be able to contract the pectoralis major is that the center of the pectoralis major starts here. It then extends horizontally and attaches here. This is the stopping point. There is a start and an end on either side, and both sides need to contract. However, there is a misunderstanding about what it means to contract, leading to movements like this, or even in exercises like flies, resulting in similar mistakes. In reality, it may seem like there is a contracted load, but it's not really a proper contraction. It does shorten, but it's more of a relaxed contraction. In this case, it becomes meaningless. Especially at the start of this movement, when you try to contract, it tends to escape inward, which means it's no longer a contraction. Although it appears to be shortening, it actually escapes, so it doesn't contract at all. When it doesn't escape, it gets blocked and can contract tightly. By firmly pushing out the center, we create a strong contraction that builds this prominence. It is essential not to let this line sag. To achieve this, we must first establish an arch, and as we do this, the erector spinae in the back will stretch vertically. Since we are tightening the erector spinae with force in this position, it prevents the weight from rising. If you don't focus on the techniques of the spine and remain lax without any awareness, when you try to remember to engage, everything will shift over here. Therefore, having awareness of the techniques of the spine is essential. Additionally, you need to have sufficient strength to support those techniques, which means you must properly perform deadlifts to effectively train the muscles in your lower back. But there is one more thing. When it comes to the back, it's not just about the vertical alignment, but also the horizontal aspect. Make sure to tighten the horizontal as well. If you don't perform the exercise with the space between the scapula closed, your shoulders will end up protruding like this. It's important to maintain this arch on both sides without breaking it. You also need to keep this vertical arch intact while not compromising the horizontal one. Looking at this diagram, there is a top point A and there is a joint point B. And what is this? If you push out while in a flat position, it will quickly cave in. If the central part A is protruding and the shoulder part B is moving back, then, if you maintain this position, the chest can contract without caving in. This means that a solid and correct contraction load can be applied for effective contraction. Therefore, you must firmly visualize this position in your mind, particularly the area between the scapulae where the rhomboid muscles are located. It is essential to engage those muscles properly. Since you have to keep it tight, people need to properly perform exercises like the barbell bent over row to engage the pectoralis major effectively. If you lack the strength to maintain that tightness, similar to the issue with the erector spinae, you won't have the muscle power to keep everything tight, which can lead to opening up when trying to lift heavy dumbbells. Therefore, it's necessary to incorporate deadlifts and bent over rows into your routine. While using dumbbells is fine, it's important to perform these exercises correctly. It's important to really focus on increasing strength with events like the dumbbell overhead row. There are people who do this for their chest training, and this is where it happens. Today, I have something I want everyone to do. Yes, I want you to do something. That is, while keeping the scapula squeezed together. How far to raise the arms is a significant issue that many people do not understand. When trying to lift the dumbbell, there is a tendency for the shoulders to move forward. To prevent this from happening, it is necessary to have the strength to keep the back in place, but one must also maintain awareness and make an effort not to let go of that tension. Now, let's all try this out. I'm actually shirtless today for this purpose, as I explain the upper body. You don't need to take off both shoes up to this point, but today I am going shirtless from here on out. It's not that I enjoy doing this. I'm doing it to explain things to everyone, so it's not for my own enjoyment. Now first I call this the air press, not to be confused with air guitar, but it's called air press. Let me turn around for a moment. I will squeeze my scapula. Once I do that, at this stage, my lower back is not rounded. It's straight. I visualize health. Once I close the scapula, I extend my elbows while performing the dumbbell press. And as I do this, my elbows are going about this far while I keep the scapula closed. To be honest, I have to say that I'm quite good at this closing and extending technique. Since I've been doing this kind of work for a long time, I've become skilled at it, so that's why I'm able to do it like this. It probably won't go any further than this with my arms closed, but if everyone watching this imagines moving their elbows as much as I do, it will likely pop out. So, while I'm moving this much now, you don't have to move the same distance as I do. A narrower range is perfectly fine. If you try to move over a wide range, it becomes difficult. How does this feel? Try doing it like this now. How does it feel? I'm tight like this, right? It stays tight and doesn't open at all. And you can see my arms are out. It feels like this. Can you keep it as tight as this? You really need to keep it tight and only move to the point where it can go while staying tight. Otherwise, the isolation will definitely move. This is important. I was doing it while maintaining a contraction that forms an arch. Take a deep breath and exhale about halfway. It's not about how far this goes. It's about training the pectoralis major. While keeping the pectoralis major contracted, it's about how much it can shorten. Right now, I'm shortening it, but I'm not doing it with the image of pushing this. When you contract the pectoralis major, if it has already contracted to this extent, trying to push anything further from the base of the heart will cause it to open up, so you shouldn't go that far. The pectoralis major is already in a tightly contracted state. What does that mean? Even when performing the dumbbell press with a neck roll, I want to do it in exactly the same form. It should be in a position where the scapula does not open at all. How do you feel about wanting to do it? Is it possible? Now here, there are people who feel like they are doing it themselves, but they feel like something is still open. They think they are squeezing, but they are not sure if it is really closed. There is another practice method for that. There is another practice. We will practice with a ballpoint pen. It's a ballpoint pen. We will practice the dumbbell press with a ballpoint pen. Okay? Everyone, please prepare a ballpoint pen or a pencil. Yes, get ready. Now, I will say not to spread the scapula. I said absolutely do not spread it. So, to be conscious of not spreading, we will place the ballpoint pen between the scapulae and proceed with the exercise. As we move, we need to see if the ballpoint pen stays in place. I want you to try that, and I hope it doesn't fall. All right, I'll do it now. First, I'm doing it here. I'll place it between these health numbers. Okay, and then I'll close it. Are we ready to tighten it? Once it's tightened, we can move it. I'm going to turn a little. I'm going to turn. Once I turn, it shouldn't fall. But at this moment, we keep moving until it's tightened. We keep moving until it's tightened. We keep moving until it's tightened. If it moves or opens up, then it feels like it's going to fall. We need to make sure it doesn't fall. Keep it pinched here for health, and even so, while making sure it doesn't fall. This goes beyond the range of motion. It tends to drop. So that's how it ends up. That's why it feels like it's at the limit right now. It seems like a one-time performance, but even now, there are no tricks or gimmicks. I can firmly hold it with a regular health supplement, so I can contract it up to that point. Therefore, the strength to contract is different from the strength I always talk about. We also need to develop the muscles that can contract the muscles. By being able to contract, you also increase your strength up to the point of the dumbbell press. It is necessary to firmly tighten both areas and maintain that tension. Therefore, I believe you can achieve a level of tightness where a pen can be held without falling. You will perform the dumbbell press with exactly the same sensation. Right now, I'm holding a ballpoint pen in the same way, and I'm moving it while keeping it just as tight, which creates a trajectory, similar to that of a dumbbell. Yes, this range feels manageable for me. The contraction feels like it's being done while protruding. It's all about how to master this top contraction. I really want you to do this. I've been continuously emphasizing it during personal training, constantly repeating in my head, shoulders back, keep the back tight. I keep doing it myself. If you don't keep repeating that in your mind, and if you accidentally just think about the dumbbells, you'll end up just letting the dumbbells rest on your shoulders without engaging the back. Once you contract, that's the end. Resist and contract, that's the end at the top. As I mentioned earlier, make sure to have a solid top position. Once you've created a non-collapsing top, you move into the negative phase. The negative should be done slowly, but I believe you can do it. The question is whether you can master this top position and support it with the pectoralis major. After establishing this position, lower slowly during the negative phase and repeat this process. If you can do this, then you're on the right track. The pectoralis major is well developed, and the inner part is also quite prominent. Therefore, when lifting this dumbbell, it's more important to focus on how effectively you can engage the central part of the pectoralis major rather than just the weight or the number of repetitions. This is crucial, so consider the training of the pectoralis major from that perspective. Please make sure to practice this consistently, not just by looking at it now, but always keeping the scapula squeezed and performing the movement in this manner. Always practice this, even when you're at the station. When practicing your golf swing, it's perfectly fine to do it like this at the station as well. Always try to practice this a little bit, okay? Before you actually start training, try practicing the air press a bit before moving on to the dumbbell press. Let's do our best. Please subscribe to the channel as well. I'm also on Instagram, so please follow me. This was your personal trainer. Go, go.